أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين طبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا سيدنا ومولانا بالقاسم مصطفى محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهركم تطهيرا والسلام على أئمة المسلمين وهداة المستضعفين وحماة المؤمنين السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بكيت وبكي الليل والنهار ولجعل الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. The following is the narration and one of the saddest narrations of the night of 11th of the month of Muharram on the plains of Karbala, when the granddaughters of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi were left on the plains of Karbala to face every possible trial and every possible tribulation. Having killed Imam Hussain alayhi salam shortly before Maghrib on the afternoon of the 10th of Muharram, Umar bin Saad continued to add insult to injury. For the first time in Islamic history, a commander had ordered his soldiers to do the unthinkable. But the unthinkable was towards the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Umar bin Saad turned around to his soldiers. He said to the number of them, in some narrations, 10 are mentioned. He said to them, "Sharpen the hooves of your horses." They got down onto the hooves of their horses and they began to sharpen the hooves of their horses with one particular intention in their mind. Shimr wanted to trample the horses on the bodies of Imam Hussain alayhi salam and his companions. He wanted the horses to trample on the bodies of the likes of Hur bin Yazid al-Rihai, Muslim ibn Awsaja, Habib ibn Madahir, Zuhair bin Kain, John, Anas bin Harith, Abi Shakhri, among the others of the companions. So he asked the horse riders at that time, he said to them, "Have you sharpened the hooves of your horses?" One by one they said, "We have." Mukhtar al-Thaqafi had caught these 10 horse riders later on, a few years after Karbala. He asked them if they knew who their fathers were. They admitted they did not know who their fathers were. Each one of those riders, according to the opinion, was the son of an adultery. Umar bin Saad said to the rider, "Sharpen the hooves of the horses." They sharpened the hooves of the horses. He began to tell them, "Trample the horses on the bodies that lay on the earth." These bodies were the bodies of the companions of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Every name that Umar bin Saad mentioned had a tribe in Yazid's army who were able to come forward and say, "You have already killed our son. Do not humiliate us by making the horses kick him around in Karbala." Hur bin Yazid had Banu Riya. They were present in the army. The likes of Habib ibn Madahir and Muslim ibn Awsaja and the other companions. Each one of them had a family member or a relative or an alliance with a member of the Yazid's army. Umar bin Saad then said, "Well, if all the companions have someone in the army, if all of them have someone in the army, then trample on the family of Hussain bin Ali. One by one, he began to ask them to trample on the bodies that lay on the earth. Trample on the body of Abul Fadl Abbas. I ask you, what remains of the body of Abbas that you want to trample it? He said, trample on the body of Abul Fadl. But Abul Fadl's mother was Ummul Baneen. She was related to Shimr bil Joshan. And therefore, at the moment you found, they said, leave Abbas alone. One by one, they went through the family members. They went on to Qasim ibn Hassan, and Qasim's mother was the tribe of Fizaris. They were represented in Yazid's army. Then they said, trample on the body of Ali Akbar. But Ali Akbar's mother was Layla. She was Muawiyah's niece and the Yazid's first cousin. So they left the body of Ali Akbar alone. They left the body of Qasim alone. They left the body of Abbas alone. Each one of them may have been related to somebody in the army. Umar bin Saad, then I asked, is there anybody who lies in the ground of Karbala, whose father and mother have no one to represent him? Only one body laid on the ground in Karbala, whose mother was Fatima and father was Ali. He had no one to represent him in the opposition army. At this moment, Umar bin Saad called out, "O horse riders, ride the horse of God and trample on the body of Imam Hussain." One by one, the horses came and kicked the chest of Abu Abdullah on the plains of Karbala. They dug their hooves deep into the chest of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, the chest that used to be kissed by Rasulullah. They would come and kick the body one way and the other. They would not leave Imam Hussain. Even after killing Imam Hussain, they wanted to humiliate him by kicking his body everywhere. One poet says, you imagine Sayyida Zaynab and Imam Zainul Abidin have a conversation with each other where Sayyida Zaynab asks Imam Zainul Abidin, "Oh my nephew, what is those bones that I hear breaking? Tell me, what are the bones that are breaking?" He replies, "Those are the bones of my father Abdullah Hussain." Only Allah knows what happened to the heart of Fatima al-Zahra on the 10th of Muharram. One minute seeing her son being beheaded, another minute seeing him getting kicked around in the plains of Karbala, the way a ball is kicked around. He says, if you lost one rib in Medina, come look at the ribs in Karbala. At this moment, having kicked the body of Imam Hussain alayhi salam and crushing his ribs, Umar bin Saad turned around to the soldiers. He said, "Burn the tents of the granddaughter of Muhammad." The soldiers began to burn the tents where the ladies of Ali Muhammad were there. Imam Zainul Abidin was there. All of a sudden, the tents were surrounded by fire, and the ladies of Ali Muhammad were running everywhere. Picture the scene. If you have a daughter running away from an enemy, now think of the daughters of Ali ibn Abi Talib running one way or the other. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, one day his house was burned by the Abbasis. And on that day, he ran from one part of the house to the other to grab his children, grab his grandchildren so he could get them all out of the house. A few days later, when the house was burned down, one of the companions of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam asked him, he says, "Mawla, I see that you are very saddened. Is the burning of the house makes you sad?" He said, "It's not that exactly." So he says, "Then what is it?" He said, "When the house was on fire, I saw my daughters running from one side to the other. I remembered Sham-e-Ghariba, and I remembered the daughters of Abu Abdullah running from one side of the tent to another. When the tents were on fire, some of the children were poked with spears as they ran from tent to tent." Imagine Ruqayya bint al-Husayn. only a few years old, calling, Wa Husaina. Another one calling out, Wa Abbasa. Another one calling out, Wa Shahida. One by one, the daughters were calling, Where is Abbas and where is Hussain? Where is Akbar and where is Qasim? They were running from one tent to another. Hamid ibn Muslim narrates, he saw, when I saw them running from tent to tent, I saw one of the girls' dress was on fire. He was a reporter from the Yazid's army. He said, Come, I'll give you some water. Here, take some water. She looked at him and she says, Oh man, are you with us or are you against us? He said to her, I'm neither with you and I'm neither against you. I'm Hamid ibn Muslim. I've come here to write what is taking place here. She says, Then how can you offer me water when my father died thirsty on the plains of Karbala? She then looked at him and she said to him, Oh man, may I ask you a question? He said, Yes. She says, Have you read the Quran? She says, Yes, I have. She said to him, Have you read the words, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Fa'ammal yatima fala takhar. All of you know where I'm headed with this line. She said to him, Have you read this verse? He said, Yes, I have. She says, I am the orphan of Abu Abdullah. Then she looked at him and she said to him, Have you read of the ayah of the Quran? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma sa'ila fala tanhar. When someone asks you something, you don't reject them. He says, Yes, I have read the ayah of the Quran. She said to him, Then I want to ask you one thing. He said to her, Tell me. She said, Tell me, where is Najaf? Direct me towards the land of Rajab. The Najab, they say, my grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib is buried in the land of Najab. Why would she want to call towards the land of Najab? She says, I want to complain to my grandfather. I want to complain how they have treated us in the plains of Karbala. I want to complain to my grandfather how they have hurt our family, how they have kept Sayyida Zaynab alayhi salam, how they have burnt our tent. She asked for that direction. That night was a night of concern for everybody. You found that night for all those who were concerned. The narration mentions it was a very difficult night for all of them to sleep. It was difficult for each and every one of them. Imagine if you lost your son. Imagine you lost your brother. Imagine if you lost your father. Now imagine if you lost all of them, how difficult it is for you to sleep that night. And that's why the narrations clearly mention that on that night it was very difficult night for everybody to sleep. Because there was somebody wondering, where's my baby? Some are wondering, where's my brothers? One lady was wondering about her baby. It was of course Rabab. She's the mother of the 6-month-old Ali Asghar. On this night, how difficult it is for a mother who loses her child. It's one of the most difficult things for a mother if she loses her child. But how difficult is it for a mother who sees the neck of her baby pierced in front of her? How difficult is it for a mother that she can't quench the thirst of her baby when her child was thirsty? That's why you found on this night, you find that Sayyida Zaynab alayhi salam was looking around at all the ladies who were alone in the plains of Karbala. Sayyida Zaynab looked one way, then she looked another. She saw some of them are asleep. She saw some are frightened, some are awake. She could not find Rabab. She looked everywhere. Where is Rabab? Why is Rabab not sitting here? She went out to look into the plains of Karbala. She saw Rabab wandering around, sitting, wandering around. She came towards Rabab. She says, Rabab, what's wrong? She says, I'm looking for my baby boy. I want to find my baby boy. Why? Because I want to quench the thirst of my baby boy. I have some milk for him. How can I rest when my boy has nothing to drink and an arrow is sitting on his neck? Then there were other ladies who missed their husbands. For some ladies who were present in Karbala, their husbands were not with them because they had been martyred. Dailam was the wife of Zuhair bin Khan. You found Dailam on this night. She was restless. She was not able to sleep because Zuhair was not next to her. So what did she do? She turned around to her servant. She told her servant, here, take this cloth and go out and go find the body of Zuhair. When you find his body, cover it up with this piece of cloth. When the servant went out to the body of Zuhair and Cain, the servant came out in the battlefield. She walked past one body, there was a head missing on it. She walked past another body, fingers were missing on it. She found another body, she walked past it. Until moments later, she returned back. Dailam looked at her and said, oh lady, did you manage to cover the body of my husband Zuhair? The lady says, I apologize. I was not able to do that. She says, why? She says, you asked me to go out and cover his body, but his body is on the plains of Karbala. But guess who doesn't have a cover? It's the Imam Hussain alayhi salam. So I saw the body of Abu Abdullah al-Husayn. So I thought to myself, how can I cover Zuhair's body when Abu Abdullah is without a cover? At that moment, Zuhair's wife said that may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for covering the body of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. The night was especially difficult. It was very difficult for Sayyida Zaynab alayhi salam. Sayyida Zaynab alayhi salam had seen Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam die. She had seen Fatima al-Zahra die. She had seen Amir al-Mu'mineen injured in Kufa. She had seen Imam Hassan poisoned. She had seen shimmer on the chest of Hussain. Can you imagine in the past when Rasulullah passed away, her parents and her brothers with her? When her mother died, her father and her brothers with her. When her father died, she had Imam Hassan and Imam Hussain with her. When Imam Hassan died, she had Imam Hussain and Abbas with her. This night, she had no Abbas. She had no Hussain. Zainab had no Amir, she had no Hassan, she had no Rasulullah alongside her. But Zainab on that night, instead of looking after herself, she would go one way and she'd tell Ruqayya, are you okay? She'd go another way and say, oh Sakina, are you okay? She'd go to another place and she say, has the fire burnt your legs? Then she went to another place and say, has a spear injured your feet? She'd go another way and say, is there any bruising on your cheeks for the slaps that you got? She would continue to ask the questions if they were okay. She would sit with them. She would hug them. She would sit with them. She would console them. I want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this question. Who sat there and hugged Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam? Who looked after Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam? Who sat there and asked her, are you okay? Who sat there and provided protection to Zaynab alayhi salam? Nobody was there who was able to look after her. That night, this is one of the reasons why this narration is narrated about Bibi Zaynab alayhi salam. She tried to sleep, but she couldn't. Then for a moment, when Ruqayya slept, when she saw Rabab sleeping, she saw Dailam sleeping, she saw Ramla sleeping, she saw Sakina sleeping. She thought for a moment, let me close my eyes and get some rest. When she was asleep, she saw a man coming towards her from a direction. When she saw that man coming towards her from that direction, she suddenly woke up. It may have been a dream or she may have been awake. But she suddenly woke up, she looked at the man and she saw the man, but she couldn't recognize the man. At that moment she called out, oh man, please don't attack us. Please don't hurt us. No longer. We don't have Abbas with us. We don't have any Hussain with us. At that moment that man looked to her and he said to her, oh Zainab, don't you recognize your father? I am Amirul Mu'mineen. Oh Zainab, don't you recognize your father, Sayyidul Wasid? Oh Zainab, don't you recognize your father, Ali ibn Abi Talib? She looked towards him as if she said, Father, 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 where were you all this time? Father, I wish you had seen Abbas when he went to the Furat. He went the way you taught him in Kufa. He went to the Furat to get some water for the thirst of Sakina. Father, when he went to Furat, he never came back. Oh Father, where were you when he lost both of his arms? Oh Father, where were you when the soldiers mutilated the body of Qasim? Father, where were you when Ali Akbar's thirst overtook him? Father, where were you when the arrow took the neck of 6-month-old Ali Asghar? Father, 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 I ask you one thing. Where were you when Hussain lay on the ground? Father, where were you when Sinan walked towards him? Father, where were you when Shimmer grabbed his head? Father, where were you when I was alone on the ground looking at him fall on the plains of Karbala? Father, where were you? Father, where were you for me and Kulthum at the moment we missed you, Father, more than we missed you before. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. With your tears, my brothers and sisters, let's get together right now. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdillah walal arwahillati hallak bifinai. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بكيت وبكي الليل والنهار ولجعل الله آخر الأيدي مني بزيارتكم. All of you together. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي ابن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب Jamiyam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Please raise your hand to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May He hasten the appearance of Imam Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman. Oh Allah, raise us with Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. And before we end Surah Al-Mubarakat Al-Fatiha, but before that, you loudest salawat.